Be honest, have you ever picked up a sewing pattern, saw the word zipper, and immediately put it back down? Zippers can be a little intimidating, especially in garment sewing where the fit and finish of the final product really matter. Even as an experienced sewist, I still avoid zippers sometimes, but they're never as bad as I anticipate them to be. And learning how to install zippers unlocks a whole new level in your sewing game and opens you up to so many more projects. But before you practice your zipper installation on that garment you've been spending hours on, I want to take the pressure off a little bit, and I want to show you how to put invisible zippers into pillowcases. A pillow cover is the perfect low-stress way to learn zipper installation. And if something goes a little wonky, it's okay, because it's just going to be on your couch or on your bed and not on your body. So today I want to walk you through both a centered and an invisible zipper on 2 pillowcases. We'll do it step by step. I'll show you all of my favorite tips and techniques, and hopefully by the end of this video, zippers won't seem quite so scary. You'll need 2 squares of fabric per pillow. Mine are 19 inches by 19 inches, which includes a 1/2 inch seam allowance for a finished pillow dimension of 18 inches by 18 inches. You'll also need a zipper that's about 16 inches long, some matching thread, some pins, a regular sewing machine, and a zipper foot. If you have an invisible zipper foot, that's a bonus, but I'll show you how to make it work with the regular one too. You'll also notice that my zippers are not the same color as my pillow cover fabric. This is because I'm using what I had in my stash. So I'm using this black one for the invisible zipper cover, and this is not going to be visible at all once we finish. So it really doesn't matter what color it is, but the black I think will blend in nicely with this dark green velvet. For my centered zipper, I'm using this metal zipper, and this is actually a zipper that has an end that can be detached, so like for a jacket zipper, but I'm going to show you how to kind of close up that end, which is what I'm going to be doing. This is just the longest zipper like this that I had in my stash. I'm using a velvet upholstery fabric for my pillow covers. This is something that I had left over from another project, and I just love this dark green velvet. It is so nice. And your zipper feet may look a little different depending on the type of sewing machine you have. So when you're looking for a zipper foot, just make sure that it'll work with your particular brand and model of sewing machine. So let's start with the centered zipper. It's easier to install, visible by design, and it's a great beginner technique to master first. But before we get into that, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, BIRCH. As many of you probably know, because I talk about it all the time, it has been consuming my life. We have been slowly upgrading our entire home. And now that the renovations are mostly done on the main level, I'm getting to the fun kind of decor and interior design parts, and I'm starting to think about how I want to change different spaces in our home. And that's part of the reason why I'm making these pillow covers, because I want to do a little mini makeover on our bedroom. And the first thing I did was swap out the mattress. BIRCH is currently running their Memorial Day sale, and they've given me an exclusive discount just for you. So if you use the code BIRCHPARTNER27 at checkout, you'll save 27% off of your purchase of a mattress, which is that's a lot. That's a big discount on a mattress purchase. Hear that? It's expanding.
What is the advantage of this thing supposed to be?
It's organic. It's not made with fiberglass. A lot of mattresses are made with fiberglass. Did you know that? Oh, you don't want to hear my spiel? BIRCH mattresses are made with organic cotton, natural latex, and organic wool, and no fiberglass, which blows my mind. I didn't even realize that a lot of mattresses are made with fiberglass. No off-gassing, no mystery materials, just high quality, responsibly sourced comfort. Yeah, I like this. It's firm. I like a firm mattress, but they do have an option for a luxury mattress topper if you like a little bit more of a plush sleep experience, but I need a firm mattress. I need the support, and I think this is gonna fit the bill. Oh, Miracle's up. Here comes Miracle. She's always got to get in the shot. Oh God, your breath stinks. And getting a good night's sleep is really important to me. I have become a much more light sleeper as I've gotten older. I wake up a lot during the middle of the night. A firm, cool mattress is key for me. And did you know that you're supposed to change your mattress every 8 years? I did not know that, and our mattress was way overdue for being swapped out. And BIRCH offers a 100-night sleep trial, so you can try it out for more than 3 months and send it back risk-free if it doesn't work out for you. Plus, BIRCH offers free shipping with all of their mattress purchases, and they even offer in-home setup and removal if you want it super easy. Take a nap. So again, head to the link in the description below this video, enter the code BIRCHPARTNER27 at checkout to save 27% off of your BIRCH mattress purchase during their Memorial Day sale. Thank you again to BIRCH for sponsoring today's video. Okay, let's get back to the zippers. As I mentioned before, this zipper has an open end so that you can fully unzip this. It's basically a jacket zipper. So you can unzip it and separate the 2 sides, put on your jacket, and then zip it back up. But since I'm going to be installing this in a pillow cover, I need to prep the ends of the zippers. So I'm just going to take some of the scrap fabric that I have left over And I'm gonna cut a strip that is the same width as my zipper. So we're looking at about 1 inch. So this zipper is approximately 16 inches long, and I'd like the overall length of this when I install it into the edge of the pillow cover to be the same length as my pillow cover edge. So I need that to be 19 inches. I also need to account for the fact that I'm going to be covering up this end. If you have a regular zipper that has the zipper tape extension on both ends, you won't have to do this, but I'm kind of having to modify this zipper to work in a pillowcase since I don't want it to be a separating zipper. So I'm actually going to treat this zipper as if it is 15.5 inch. So I'll put my little piece about 1/2 inch from the end of the zipper here. So if I do 19 inches minus 15.5 inches, that gives me 3.5 inches, and then 3.5 inches divided by 2 would be 1 3/4 inch. And I also need to add in a little bit of seam allowance. So I'll just do 2 2-inch pieces, and I'll do a 1/4 inch seam allowance when I attach it to the end of the zipper. So cut that off, and I will attach this here and here. I can probably unzip this just a little bit to make it a little easier to attach. I'll pin those in place. And I want to pin that right above the stops on the zipper. Now, if you're sewing this into a garment, you probably won't have to do this. So I'm just going to put it about 1/4 inch past that stop. I want to make sure I keep those 2 ends together, and I'll pin that in place. Do the same thing for the other side. And I'll sew that here and here to attach those. And when I go over the teeth of the zipper, I just want to be very careful to not let my needle get bent on the teeth, especially on a metal zipper like this. So I'm just going to take my time. And sometimes when I'm trying to go slowly and work my way through a zipper or through a difficult area, I'll kind of turn the hand wheel a little bit to kind of help work the needle through and adjust and turn the hand wheel and do that until I get through the zipper. And then I'll just press that down away from the zipper and do a line of top stitching across there just to hold it in place. This is not absolutely necessary. This is actually kind of an optional step. So you can kind of see how that looks. Now on this side, I'm actually not going to sew through the teeth. I'm just going to sew right next to the zipper stop here. So the next thing I want to do is grab one side of my pillowcase, lay it face up. I want to lay the zipper face down along one edge. Then I'll pin this in place along that edge. So first I want to switch out my foot. So I was using a regular presser foot for that first step, and I will use my regular presser foot again once I get to the point where I sew the edges of the pillow cover, but I want to set this aside for now and grab my zipper foot. So this is the zipper foot that goes with my machine, and it basically just allows me to get a little bit closer to the zipper so that I actually stitch on the zipper tape. And how far you stitch away from the zipper teeth really comes down to personal preference. I like to leave my needle centered and justify the zipper foot to the right so that I can get kind of close to the zipper tape but not right against it. Okay, so this is getting a little bit out of control, and I'm glad this is happening because I will show you, first of all, that it's not a huge deal. Second of all, that there is a way to fix that. I'll show you on the second side. So when I was sewing this, it started kind of slipping, and the edge of my fabric slipped away from the edge of my zipper tape. And for this case, it's not a huge deal that that happened. It's really not going to matter that much for the finished product, but I do have a trick for keeping that from happening. You can also see that my stitching is just generally kind of all over the place because the zipper foot is nice for getting close to the zipper, but it's not as easy to control as a regular presser foot. So I'm actually going to take this zipper out and start over, which sometimes you just have to do. And it's always good to have your seam ripper. I should have put that in the supplies list. But yeah, make sure you have a seam ripper nearby. I made my stitches very tiny too, so it's going to be a little harder to get out. So also found that whenever I'm seam ripping, especially if I have something that I'm just kind of nervous to kind of slide my seam ripper through there, I'll go through and just release a stitch every like 10 stitches. So I'll just kind of pop a few stitches loose. So then I can kind of, makes it a little easier to pull that out. So I've repinned the zipper to the fabric, and this time I put my pins perpendicular to the edge of the fabric, which I think is going to work a little bit better. I'm also going to switch back to my regular presser foot for this first step. I'm going to move my needle position over to the far left. This is just going to get that needle closer to the edge of my zipper here, and I'm just going to baste the zipper in place first. So I'm going to do a very long stitch length, which is 6 millimeters on my sewing machine. And I'm also trying to make sure that I don't push against the zipper teeth too much, because that's going to push that zipper out of the way. And that kept the zipper tape more even with the edge of the fabric. So now I can just sew with a regular stitch and my zipper foot. I've switched back to my zipper foot and sew the zipper in place a little bit closer to the zipper teeth. And because I basted it, everything's going to stay better in place. You can also open up the zipper so that the top of the zipper doesn't get in your way when you're trying to sew past that point. And when you get to a certain point, you can lift your presser foot and zip it back up so that that zipper pull is out of the way. Next, I'll press the zipper away from the right side of fabric, folding that seam allowance toward the fabric. And because this is velvet and I don't want to iron directly on the velvet, this is also a synthetic fiber. I don't want to melt the velvet. I'm going to use some scrap fabric as a press cloth to press that. Now you could top stitch this along this edge just to kind of keep it down. I'm not going to do that on this one because I kind of just like the idea of not having any visible top stitching on this. And I don't think it's going to hinder how the zipper works at all, so I'm just going to leave it like this. Now I can attach the opposite side. So I want to leave this face up, and I have the zipper at the top here. I'm just going to align this other piece of fabric with this, right sides together, with the other side of the zipper tape. And I'm going to do the same thing to sew this side to the zipper. Now we can finish the pillow cover, so I'm just going to open up my zipper so that I can turn this right side out when I need to and it doesn't get stuck inside out. I'll fold this right sides together and align both sides of the pillow cover. Now I actually want to open my zipper only about halfway. Because we have this little end piece on the zipper, I'm going to try to fold that in half to create that corner there. And I'm just going to sew along the 3 open ends with a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around and to the other side, do the same thing. And because this velvet is so shifty, I'm actually going to pin this. Depending on the type of fabric you have, you can probably get away without pinning this, but for this fabric, I feel like it needs to be pinned because it is really fighting with me today. So I just want to switch back to my normal presser foot again. So I just want to clip my corners so that they don't create too much bulk at the corners. And now we can just turn it right side out. Nice. And this is ready for a pillow, but first we're going to move on to zipper number 2, the invisible zipper. So I just have an invisible zipper here, and you can see that the kind of right side is a little bit more flat, and you can't even see the zipper teeth, and then on the wrong side you can see the zipper teeth. Now I'm going to show you 2 ways to install this invisible zipper. The first side I'm going to do with a regular zipper foot and kind of show you some tips and techniques for getting that invisible seam on there. And then I'll show you with an invisible zipper foot, which makes the process so much easier. Anyway, I digress. We'll get to that. So the first thing you need is your 2 pillowcase sides, and you just want to put those right sides together. So right sides together here. And I'm just going to pin that in place. And I'm going to sew along that edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm also using a regular presser foot for this step. And I'm using a basting stitch. So I want to make sure that my stitch length is the longest it'll go. Next, I'm going to press that seam allowance open. I'm going to use my handy dandy scrap piece of fabric for a press cloth. So just press that open. Now my iron does not handle steam well, but it does help to have a little steam for this, so I'm just going to use a little spray bottle of water. I love these little misting bottles for this. And I'll also flip it over and do it from the right side, just because this fabric is especially stubborn for pressing. I also have a clapper, which is just a wooden block thing that helps set pressing in your seams. These things actually work really well. It's just a wood block basically, but it actually works really well for setting those folds in your seams. I use this a lot when I'm working with heavier fabrics, especially like denim. And this is a pretty heavy upholstery weight velvet fabric, so stuff like this is really helpful to have. Then I'll just flip this back over, so the wrong side facing up, and I've got that pressed seam facing me. I'm going to take my invisible zipper and place it face down on the seam, and I'm trying to align the center of my zipper with that seam. Then I'll just pin that in place. I'm only going to pin one side to start. It's centered there. And I'm just pinning it to the seam allowance and not to the pillow cover side. And the same as I did for the other zipper, I'm just going to baste the tape to the seam allowance just to hold that in place. And then I'm only going to be sewing it to the seam allowance. So let me get it in here and kind of position my presser foot and baste that in place. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. And I'll pull the zipper pull out of the way and keep going. I'm kind of taking my time here. I'm not rushing this. I just want to get that tape zip attached. And I've got the edge of my presser foot kind of resting on top of the zipper teeth. So so that it doesn't push it out of the way. You could also use Wonder Tape for this to kind of tape baste it in place. That's one option. The only thing I don't like about Wonder Tape sometimes is that it does add a little bit of extra bulk, and it also doesn't stick as well to a fabric like velvet. So I do have Wonder Tape, but I typically will just do the basting step. It's just as easy for me. So now you can see it's basted to one side of the seam allowance there. And I'm going to do the same thing to attach the other side. So I'm just going to baste the other side to the other side of the seam allowance. I'm going to try it without pinning it in place just to see how it goes. But if you're feeling like it is going to be a little bit funky to do that, I would recommend pinning it just to kind of make double sure that it stays in place. And as I'm doing this, I am kind of having to like keep it steady under the presser foot because it just wants to slip out because of the zipper teeth under there. So just something to keep in mind. And when I get to the zipper pull here on this side, it's going to be difficult to get it all the way up across the top of the tape here. So I'm just going to get as close as I can. It's not as crucial here. Ooh, I might be able to actually go over it. Okay. I was able to go over it, but that doesn't always happen. So now that I have the zipper basted in place, I can remove those basting stitches from that center seam there that attach the two sides of the pillow cover together. In a lighter weight fabric, I might be able to just pull those out, but this is kind of a thicker fabric and I know that it's going to be hard to yank those stitches out, so I'm just going to use my seam ripper. And so, you know, now we can kind of pull it apart. We can see the zipper in there, but once we sew this next to the tape, it's going to all be very seamless and lovely. So now I just want to unzip the zipper all the way. And I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew one side of the zipper. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do here. I have seen recommendations before to basically press open the zipper tape with the iron. I don't love doing that because I'm always nervous about melting it, but for the zipper installation on using a regular zipper foot for an invisible zipper, I am going to do that because it will help kind of get that zipper foot in there. So again, I'm using my little press cloth and I'm just kind of like pulling back the edge of the zipper here, the tape, just to open that up a little bit so I can get right in there along the zipper teeth. But I also find that even though I will press this open, they just don't stay open very well. Just kind of, let me try it like this. I've got it set to the polyester setting, so hopefully I won't melt anything. So I've got that pressed open just a little bit. So now I'm going to swap out my regular presser foot for just a regular standard zipper foot. And I'm also going to move my needle over. So I'm going to do this because I want that needle as close to the edge of this little zipper foot as possible. Now my sewing machine does not like it when I move my needle over. Sometimes it skips stitches. So that's another reason why I like using the regular invisible zipper foot. But this will work. It'll stay, but I might skip a few stitches. And that's just specific to my sewing machine. It's probably something I need to have fixed. So I'll just slide that in there, get that presser foot really close to the zipper teeth there. And then I will sew as close as possible in this little groove here next to where that zipper teeth folds over. And I also want to change my stitch length to a regular stitch length. And I'm kind of pressing it open with my fingers as I go under. Just going to get as close as I can. gonna zip that up and kind of see how that looks. So this is the side I have not sewn yet, but this one, I mean, you can't even see the center of the zipper because it's so close when it's zipped up. So it can be done with a regular zipper foot. It just requires a little bit more patience and fine tuning. Now let's do the other side. I'm going to use the invisible zipper foot on this side. So I'm just going to swap out this zipper foot for the invisible zipper foot. Now the invisible zipper foot has a couple of little grooves here in the center, and there's a hole here for the needle to go through. And essentially your zipper teeth will align with one of these grooves depending on which side you're sewing. So just put that in. And I want to make sure I put my thread through that little hole. Actually, let me take that out. Put it through the hole. And snap it back in place. Your invisible zipper foot may look a little different than this depending on what kind of sewing machine you have, but I think it's essentially the same idea. You just have little grooves here that this just kind of creates a little carriage with these little grooves that'll kind of ride right over the zipper teeth. So I'm gonna again reposition my needle back to center here. This time I'm actually starting from the bottom, and I'm not going to press open the seam here. So I'm just gonna get as close as I can to the zipper pull. I wanna make sure that my needle is centered and it's gonna go right to the right side of the zipper teeth. So I'm going to make sure that my zipper teeth go in the left groove of the invisible zipper foot. So I'm just kind of pressing that open with my finger, aligning it with the groove and lowering the presser foot. And now my needle will go right in this little groove here. Pretty darn good. You cannot see the zipper at all. Show our little pull. So now I'm ready to sew the rest of the sides of the pillow cover. So the same way as we did for the other pillow cover, I'm just going to put these two pieces of fabric right sides together, pin it all in place, and sew around the three loose edges. So again, I am going to unzip the zipper just a little bit, which will make turning it right side out a little easier. Oh my goodness. I never heard such a pitiful noise. What? What? Oh my gosh. Weenies. Weenies, weenies, weenies. So at the corner here, I am going to sew a little bit of the seam allowance here before I turn and sew the three loose sides. I just want to make sure I kind of pull those teeth away because this is kind of the part that I wasn't able to fully sew in place because the zipper pull was in the way. So I'm just going to kind of pull those out and press this together. And you can kind of see where the seam allowance wants to be. I'm just going to sew as close to this as possible. I may not be able to get all the way to it, but I'm going to sew as close as this to possible to, you know, kind of finish the seam allowance there. And we are switching back to a regular presser foot now. And again, I'll snip all of my corners. I'm also working on a little nightstand flip for the bedroom on my other channel, so be sure to check that out later this week. I'll put a link to that in the description as soon as the video goes live, but you can search for Pattern Scout Home here on YouTube or click the link in the description to go to my other channel where I share all sorts of home renovation and decor projects. See you next time. Bye.